Alright guys, it's Thomas. So today I'm going to talk about the IFI ZEN Blue DAC. Very simple DAC. You can only connect to it by Bluetooth. No USB, no coaxial, no optical, just by Bluetooth. And for those of you who just want to know, Thomas, is it good or not? Now I'm looking for a Bluetooth DAC. The answer is yes, it is good. So go buy it and I'll see you next time. Now, for those of you who have nothing to do and curious how come I have one in my possession and what I really think of it, yeah, stick around. So when the distributor of IFI here in Canada reached out to me asking me if I'll be interested in joining a presentation on this product, I'm like, for sure, yeah. You know, last time I went to this PMC product launch, I got free food. So, you know, me being naive thinking, yeah, maybe I'll get free food too. Oh, by the way, for those of you who have not seen that video, PMC speaker, you should check it out. You know, how often do you see a video with stereo and food together? It's one of my best videos. So, unfortunately, it was a virtual presentation. Well, there's also the COVID problem. So I attended it virtually. But the main reason I decided to go for it is because I actually use IFI product myself. You see, on my desk, I actually use this. This is my own DAC on my desk. Used to be this. So you're probably wondering, Thomas, you know, with all these fancy DAC you have at home, for those who don't know me, I actually have a lot of DACs at home, like the Eris 2, the Musical Paradise, the Blue Sound Note. Why don't you use those instead? Why are you using this? Because on my desk, actually all I care about is just listen to music. I'm not there to analyze everything in detail, but I'm there just to enjoy it. So that's why for me, if a DAC is good enough, and yeah, that's all I care. All I wanted was something very small so I can hide it away, and this fits the bill and sounds pretty okay. And also the fact that I have this IFI Tube 2 before, so I figure, you know, I have good experience with an IFI product. That's why I went to the presentation. Now, I'm glad I did because before I went to the presentation, I'm like, you know what, Bluetooth and good stereo, you don't put them in the same sentence. And I know a lot of people have this negative perception on Bluetooth. But while I was at the presentation, one thing that they mentioned is that this uses the LDAC codec. Now, for those of you who don't know, Bluetooth, there's different versions. We're at version 5 right now, but there's different codecs. There's Aptx HD, Aptx, and SBC. So you have different types of codec. Now, the latest one is LDAC. And that's developed by Sony. And on paper, it goes up to 990 kbs or something like that. That's high resolution we're talking about. So me being Thomas, having a phone, which I pay a lot of money, I say, you know what? My phone can actually support LDAC. You just have to go into the developer mode screen and enable it. But I'm like, wow, I pay a lot of money for this phone. I want to get the maximum use out of my phone. It's like going to a Chinese buffet, right? You want to maximize your return as much as possible. Me, I want to use my phone to the max. So I say, sure, send it to me. I want to try this LDAC thing. Because one of the issue I heard from using Bluetooth is that sometimes it can be a little bit compressed, the sound. And to be honest, all these years, I've never used Bluetooth seriously. So I got a DAC for one purpose, and that is to test, can Bluetooth LDAC compete with cable? So to do the test, I had it plugged to my Exasound E28 with a coaxial cable, a very good one too, just to be sure. I give it the best chance possible. And then I connect from my computer, Amazon optical cable going to my DAC. So sure, one is coaxial, one is optical, but whatever, you know. And I wanted to see if I can tell the difference between LDAC and the optical cable. And it's good because on my DAC, I can just press one button to switch between it. And I would say this. When it comes to Bluetooth, trying different codec like AAC, HPTX HD, LDAC, I do hear a difference. With LDAC being the smoothest. And as I swap between cable and Bluetooth, I'm like, you know what? I can bet you $5 I can tell the difference. But I won't bet you $50 if I can tell a difference. So, because as I swap, I'm listening for that slight brightness, and I hear it, but after swapping back and forth a few times, I'm like, okay, where am I right now? Am I on cable or am I on Bluetooth? So with that in mind, I would say that if you want to get it for your high-end system and you want to use it for convenience, right? Because you're plugging it into your high-end DAC, it's good enough. It's absolutely good enough. You might have very good years and you might be confident that you can bet against people like $50 that you can tell a difference. But at least for me, I'll bet you $5, but I won't bet you $50. So that's why if you, let's say, have a nice Higo that has a built-in DAC and you just want to add Bluetooth to it, then yeah, by all means, this is actually very good. And you don't need LDAC. Aptx HD is already pretty good. I find it a little bit sharper with Aptx HD than LDAC. LDAC sounded a bit more natural, at least in my system. But I felt Aptx was really good already. All right, so what about the built-in DAC? I'm sure some of you are asking. And I like what Steve recently said. The way he described the Bluesound Note is that it is perfectly serviceable. Now, when I use this DAC, my expectation is something like this. Right? Remember I said there's time where I just want to listen to music, and there's time I want to listen and analyze music. So that's the time where you take out your $5,000 DAC. But most of the time, most of my listening time is actually with something like this. Well, it's because I sit in front of a computer working. So for me, the key thing when it comes to a budget DAC is the digital glare. Is it enough to bother me? Okay, so all budget DACs for me, they're going for that really clear sound. And this is no exception. The basic sound signature is that it sounds very detailed, very clear, and it's all about clarity. And if you want to know more, just read up on all these reviews on it. But the key here is that some of them has this glare that is a little bit too much for me. There's some products where I actually received that I'm sending back because for me, that glare is just a bit too much. So I actually discussed this with Sean the other day, and Sean from Zero Fidelity, and he told me, yeah, that's harshness without fidelity. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. So this does not have that problem. It is a quote-unquote brighter kind of sound, but it's not to the point where it's harsh, and I can actually listen to it for hours. So do keep your expectations in check, but as I said, for somebody who actually used this kind of DAC for my regular use, this is perfectly fine. In fact, I was actually comparing this DAC with another DAC that's a bit more expensive than this one, and that's a real DAC. I actually prefer the sound on this one over that other real DAC. So areas of opportunity. Now this doesn't happen often, but I think it's still worth mentioning. There was a time where I had to reboot the machine because I just couldn't connect to it anymore. And the second after I reboot it, it just connects right away. Now next, I noticed with LDAC, once in a while, once again, doesn't happen often, I do lose connectivity for like 0.1 second. Eventually it does resume, but I noticed that it drops for a second. Now finally, the looks. Well, I guess I'm starting to warm up to it. Oh, fun fact. So a subscriber mentioned to me that the Zen series, if you take a look at the design, is modeled after the Zen rocks. Now I don't know is it true or not, but once I see that, I can't unsee it anymore. So I thought it was really cute. Alright, so at this point, let's wrap it up. And I'm sure some of you are still on the fence regarding Bluetooth. But the way I think is like this. You know, at one point we were using 33.6 modems. Well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're too young, man. And loading a web page takes 30 seconds. We're like, whoa, this is so fast. Today's like 3 seconds. Oh my gosh, it's so slow. It's technology, man. It improves. And I think we might have reached a point where we're like, okay, even if I'm a hi-fi snob or whatever, it's perfectly usable at this point. And the good part is that you can find this on Amazon, so there's a safety net, right? So if you are looking for something like this, because at the end of the day, you can have the best system in the world, but if it's not easy to use, and because of that you don't use it as often, then it kind of loses its value. And this is something a friend of mine told me once, and that really struck me, right? A good system is one that you actually use, regardless of its sound or whatever. And this one will sound good, and you know, it's easy to use, and that's the key. All right, so with that said, I'll see you guys next time.
Eyes glow like two fires, movement so graceful. Wildcat in the jungle with dangerous claws. Movement she anticipates a sight is set on her prey. Like stars in the darkest night, crystallize, fascinate. If you wanna stay alive, if you don't wanna be her prey, don't stand in her way. Run, run, run away. Crystallize, 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 watching her prey. Crystallize, 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 fascinate. Eyes glow like two fires, movement so graceful. Wildcat in the jungle with dangerous claws. Movement she anticipates a sight is set on her prey. Like stars in the darkest night, crystallize, fascinate. If you wanna stay alive, if you don't wanna be her prey, don't stand in her way. Run, run, run away. Crystallize, 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 watching her prey. Crystallize, 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 fascinate. Eyes glow like two fires, movement so graceful. Wildcat in the jungle with dangerous claws. Movement she anticipates a sight is set on her prey. Like stars in the darkest night, crystallize, fascinate. If you wanna stay alive, if you don't wanna be her prey, don't stand in her way. Run, run, run away. Crystallize, 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 watching her prey. Crystallize, 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 fascinate.